Hi, I'm Dave Eastman, VP of InCommand Services. In today's session, I'll demonstrate how to create and use a simple InCommand checklist. I won't be highlighting all the checklist features in this demo. Features and fields I don't discuss are documented behind the blue question marks in the headers of the checklist pages. So, let's create a checklist. Mouse to Facility Ops, Checklists, and you start with the checklist editor. From this page, I can create a new template or I can duplicate a template. The duplicate option allows me to clone an existing checklist as a starting point. In this demo, I'll select the new template option and start from scratch. First thing I need to do is fill in the header information. I need to give it a name. I'll call it Checklist Demo. Optionally, I can give it a description. I'll leave that blank for now. Next, I need to tell the checklist to force comments or not. If I say yes in this field, the operator will be required to leave a text note explaining each abnormal answer. I'm going to select yes. Next is the active field. While I'm creating this checklist, I'll select no, but we'll change it to yes once it's complete and ready to be used. Next is to categorize the checklist as a walk-around checklist or a shift turnover list. I'll select walk-around. Next is select the site for which the checklist applies. From the drop-down of sites that I manage, I'm going to select the InCommand demo site. I can then add any notes. I'll say this checklist I can type is a demo. Okay. Finally, I need to select the company for which the checklist is being worked. In most cases, this will be my company, but in a multi-tenant facility, there may be a choice to be made here. I'll select my company from the drop-down list. Demo company. I can now save my selections and begin entering the questions I want on my checklist. This checklist will cover 4 separate rooms or areas inside my data center. Clicking on the New button in the question section, I can start entering questions. The first room I want checked is the control room. So I will enter control room and call that a header. In the question column, I enter control room, and in the question type, I'll call it a header. I'll confirm that entry, collect, and now start entering my questions for the control room. First question, are any alarms on the BMS system screen? I'll enter that question, and I will confirm it. And my next question, are there any alarms on the EPMS alarm screen? Enter that question and confirm it. These are the 2 questions I want answered in the control room. The next room I want to check is MDF room A. So I'll create another header and I'll call it MDF room A. Enter it here. And I'll say that's going to be a header. Now I'll confirm that, and I'll enter my questions that I want answered in MDF room A. I only have one for this room, and that's our electrical, VESDA, fire, HVAC, lights. Is everything okay in this room? Our electrical, are they all okay? I will confirm it. And then I'll go to my next room. The third room I want checked is the electrical room. So I'll make a header for the electrical room. And I'll call it a header. Confirm it. And in the electrical room, I also have just one question. What is the battery life remaining on UPS 1? I'll enter that question here. Confirm it. And the final room I want checked is data hall 1. So I'll make a header for data hall 1. Put that here. Call it a header. Confirm it. And my question for data hall 1, our first question, is do the blue mats need to be changed at the entries into this data hall? I'll make it a simple change blue mats question mark. Confirm that. After that, I want them to check, are there any amber warning lights on the servers in data hall 1? I'll enter that question and confirm it. And the last question for this room is there any cardboard items that need to be cleaned or trash out of the room? Okay, any cardboard needing to be cleaned. So I've entered and confirmed all my questions. I find it easiest to enter all the questions first and then circle back and enter comments, question types, and fill in the other information for these questions. The comment field is used to add further clarity to the questions to make sure you get an appropriate answer. I'm going to enter some comments. On the question, are there any alarms on the BMS screen? I'm going to add a comment. If yes, explain the alarms in the notes section. Oops, I put this in the wrong field. Let's put it here against that question. Next question, any alarms in the EPMS field? I'm going to give the same note to make sure I get an appropriate answer. In the MDF room, I'm asking, are all the systems there okay? And that's going to actually say, if they're not okay, please leave me a note. So I'll say, if no, explain the issues in the notes section. Then in the electrical room, I'm asking, what's the battery life reading? I'm going to tell them where to go to get a reading on the battery life. I'll tell them that I want to make my column a little larger to read the whole thing. Tell them to press the mode button to get to the battery life screen and record the percent remaining. I have 3 more questions here, some of which I want comments on. The first question in the data hall 1, change the blue mats. I don't think I need a comment there. The next question, is there enter any warning lights on servers? Yeah, I want to clarify that. And tell them, if yes, indicate the host names and alarm types in the notes. And the last question, is there any cardboard or trash items? And here, once again, I want to give some further instructions. And I'll say, if yes, please clean it up and leave a note. Okay, so I've entered comments for my questions. I'll reduce the column size here. The next column is the question type. I've already introduced header types, but when I ask, are there any alarms on the BMS? That's really a yes-no question. So I'm going to change that question type and select custom options. And when I select custom options in the question settings, I get a TBD. And clicking on the TBD, I can enter the options. What are the answers to this? The answer is yes. And the other answer is no. And my default answer, the answer I'm expecting, is no. So I'm going to select that as a default by pushing the radio button. I'll update that. That's a yes, no. Now I'll do the same thing for the alarms on the EPMS system. Custom options, TBD. First custom option is yes. And clicking the plus, I can give it a second one, no. And I will make no the default answer. In the MDF room, I'm asking, are the systems in this room okay? That's also going to be a yes-no question for me, except in this case, no is going to be my default answer. So the answer can be yes or no, but I'll make no my default answer. Now I have, what is the battery life remaining in the UPS? I'm expecting a number here. So I'll select the answer type is going to be a number. And now I can optionally put some thresholds on this. So my TBD is a minimum value. If it's less than 50%, I want to be flagged. And there is no max value that I care about. So I want the results to flag me if the operator tells me there's less than 50% battery life. Next, change blue mats. Well, that looks like another yes, no. Custom options, TBD, enter my options. Yes. The other one is no. And the default is going to be no. I don't expect to change blue mats very often. Update that. Are there any amber warning lights on servers? Once again, custom options, TBD. The options are yes and no. Default is I hope there are not. And I'll update that. And the final, any cardboard or trash that needs to be cleaned up. More custom options. More yes, no's. And the default, I'm going to suggest as no. All right, the last two fields, optional fields, mandatory and active. If I select mandatory yes, that means the operator is not going to be able to save the results after they complete the checklist if there's no answers for this question. If they try to save it and they haven't answered a question, it'll kick them back and force them to answer the mandatory questions. I'm going to select all of these as mandatory. So this UPS battery life, I'm going to change that to yes. I don't want to have this checklist completed without answering that question. And the last column to discuss today is the active column. Active means when this checklist is run, these questions will be displayed. If for any reason a checklist question goes obsolete, I don't want it on the the checklist anymore. I simply change the active column for that question to no. In this case, all my questions I will leave active. Okay, that completes the entering of questions. I think next we get to figure out what it looks like when we actually perform this checklist. Before leaving this screen, let's change the active field to yes, as we said we would do. And then let's simulate performing the checklist. To perform the checklist, you go to your checklist menu item and checklists. You select the checklist demo, that's the one we just created, and you start the checklist. Now you'll notice that my headers are for each room, they're in blue, and I will go one room at a time. In the control room, I click on the header, it opens up my questions. Are there any alarms on the BMS screen? If yes, explain. Notice my comments show here. And I'll say no. Next question, any alarms? EPMS screen. If yes, explain. No. I'm going to say yes. And now it's requiring me to give a note. The PDU 1 has a voltage error. I can upload pics if I want now. I could take a picture of it and upload it, but I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to save the note and now carry on to the MDF room. Is everything okay? Yep, it's all good. Electrical room. What's the reading on the UPS? Let's say the reading is 45%. I'm giving 45 just so I can generate an error since it's under 50. And finally, the data hall. Do we need to change the blue mats? Nope. Any new amber warning lights? Nope. Any cardboard? Nope. Okay, I've finished the checklist. I'm going to now click End Round. And it says the round contains notes and or out of range value. Do I want to email these to my facility, operations? I'm going to say yes. I want these highlighted to the facility manager. So I say yes. And it tells me the answers to the round have been stored successfully, and I can close. Going back again to my default main page, the last thing in this demonstration is what do the checklist results look like? So I come to Facility Ops, Checklist, and now I'm going to look at the checklist results. So here I see my checklist demo. My results actually, when you weren't looking, I performed the checklist once. I then just performed it again. I performed this checklist on October 1st at 15:25, again October 15:51, and these are the results. Now it says here there's a note, so this field is highlighted. I can click on this yes, and it gives me the notes. Are there any alarms at EPMS? And my note was the PDU1 has a voltage error. That's the message that was sent to my facility operator when I closed. I also see that this number for UPS 45 is highlighted in red, and the note is that it's below the minimum number of 50s, which is why it's highlighted in red. All right, that concludes this demonstration of doing checklists within InCommand. Once again, additional information can be sought after under these blue question marks. They give you additional data on all the fields and all of your options on each one of the checklist pages. Thank you for listening and have a great day.